Yeah, how are you?
Oh, good, man. Yeah, how you doing?
Oh, fine. Yeah, good. Just got up like an hour ago and worked on a little bit of music, and here we are.
Awesome, man. That's the
Yeah.
perks of being in quarantine.
Oh, I know, right?
Are you guys, you still doing that thing? Or what's happening?
Yeah. No,
It's
we've
like
been doing it for
crazy
months,
protest.
man. Well, we started about a month before it actually got popular. Like before it became legal.
Yeah.
So I've not really been out of the house all that much. Maybe like 4 times in the last 3 months, really.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
crazy.
pretty hardcore. Where are you
Yeah.
from? Are you from Scotland?
Yeah, I'm Scottish, man.
Oh, cool, right on.
I don't know if you even remember, but like one of my old bands supported Orange, like
What?
it was on one of the tours that he's done. It was in Glasgow. He's
Yeah,
played in Ivory Blacks
I remember
in
that. Yeah, which
Glasgow.
band were you
Yeah.
in?
Soundtrack to a Blockbuster, we were called.
Are you fucking kidding me? I really loved you guys, and I remember you 100%.
Oh, cool, man. That's
That is
awesome.
insane. Were you the singer?
Yeah, I was. There was two
What the
singers, and I
fuck?
was the guitarist and singer.
Dude, I totally
Yeah.
remember you guys. I really loved you guys, and I actually wrote a song not too long after we played with you guys, and I totally ripped off one of your riffs.
There you
And
go.
I never finished it. No, but I 100% remember checking out like your MySpace page
Yeah.
and loving one of the tracks. And
Oh,
no, I
that's cool,
totally
man.
ripped off one of your riffs. Yeah.
That's amazing. I
Dude,
think
that's
that's
so
a
funny.
compliment. Yeah.
Oh my God, what a small world.
Yeah,
Holy
it's
shit.
crazy, man. I've been meaning to talk to you about this. Like the guitar, it's Tom DeLonge's custom hollow
That
body, isn't
one.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one right there. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
the Gibson?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow,
Yeah.
man. That's cool. That's awesome.
I've
I've
also
always
got
wanted one of them.
I've got a few customs. I've got the Tom DeLonge Gibson there, which is really great. It sounds awesome. And then the Mark Harpus signature bass in mint green
Oh,
over
right, cool.
there too. And it's signed by every member of the band. And how we got that was they were filming the music video for Down in the same recording studio that we were recording our very first demo in. And I asked the producer to go into where they were filming Down and ask if they would sign my bass, and sure enough, they did. So that's how I got that.
That's crazy, man. That's nuts. And
Yeah,
I remember
wild.
those that music video specifically, actually.
Yeah,
So they were actually just shooting the video.
yeah. We just
Yeah.
got really lucky. Yeah.
That's nuts, man. You're kind
Cool,
of
man.
like involved, or have been involved in like this, the same sort of circle though, the kind of pop punk
Yeah,
American thing. That's like been the safe haven for all the like skater kids in the
yeah.
UK.
Oh, for
Like
sure,
the
I bet.
early pop punk scene, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, I have been working on a pop punk song for the last 3 days, which
Right, cool.
was really nice because it feels like sort of a return to home because that's just what I'm probably best at. I've been doing like solo pop ballads for the last 2 years, and we haven't put anything out yet. But yeah, it's really nice to sort of just do what I'm good at.
That's cool,
You know?
man. Is that the stuff that you're working on? Is that for Orange or your own stuff?
I don't know yet, really, because 2 years ago we did a reunion tour, and honestly, like nobody came. So after that, I was like, okay, well, maybe the interest has sort of just peaked, and everyone grew up, and blah blah blah. So I thought about starting something new, but we haven't really decided yet, So we'll see.
I think like the kind of way the industry's moving is like there seems to be more attention. Like people gravitate more towards online. Like you're more likely to get like a million
much.
viewers than like a million people that will
Yeah.
come into your gigs. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy, man.
Yeah, it really is.
You probably can just make a career out of putting videos up.
Some people do, yeah. I mean, 2 years ago, I actually thought of doing the same thing. I thought, well, I'll just be like a YouTube musician, and I'll put tracks out every month with a video, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
I didn't ultimately end up doing that, but yeah, it's definitely like a valid career choice now that some people do.
Boyce Avenue or like
I
one of
love
the
Boyce
biggest.
Avenue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
very
great,
good.
man.
Yeah.
I sing in a wedding band, and like when we get asked to do first dances, we always like check out the Boyce Avenue version before we
Oh,
do it.
really?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. They're like a good reference point for stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, are we recording already?
Well, yeah, we are recording. It's like
Oh, sweet. Cool.
this broadcast to
Yeah.
a private YouTube link.
Oh, gotcha.
And I'll basically
Sweet.
just download that link later, and I'll edit.
Do
The
your
video.
magic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I started doing a podcast about a month ago called "It's Just One of Those Games," and it's a gaming podcast. And how
Cool,
we got
man.
it's a really silly story about how we got the name. So me and the co-host Jessica, she's also an ex-girlfriend of mine, and we were just chatting about Animal Crossing. I was like, yeah, I guess Animal Crossing is just, one of those games. And then she goes, it's just one of those games. And then I was like, bingo, that's the name of the show. That's genius. We're using that.
Yeah.
So that's how we got up with that name. And I really wanted to get Fred Durst to actually do the line, but say it's just one of those games.
Like,
yeah.
You could do like a Limp Bizkit remix.
Yeah, it'd be really fun.
That'd be awesome, man.
For the intro, we do sort of an 8-bit cover of it just for like 15 seconds as a stinger. And then we've got like a robot voice like, it's just one of those games. Which it took me like 5 minutes to do in Pro Tools, but I was pretty happy with how it turned out. Yeah.
Is it just audio?
Yeah.
Just the audio version, right? Cool.
Yeah.
I know you'd said that you had like you were using a program.
Yeah, Squadcast. I didn't even know this existed. Yeah. Well, Squadcast is cool because you can see each other and you get the audio. But I didn't know that this website existed where you could actually capture the video too, which I think is really handy.
And it's free as well. The only downside to this is there's a little StreamYard logo up on the top right hand side, which I'll probably cover later.
Just put like a nice big logo over there.
Yeah. I've done some on Zoom as well, but like you have to pay for like extra cloud space and stuff on Zoom, and it just seems like a bit of a hassle.
Yeah, screw that.
yeah.
So what have you been up to? So you playing a wedding band, a function band now?
Yeah, like I kind of do loads of different stuff just now. Like the main like bread and butter thing is the wedding and function thing. So I have that. I do like an acoustic covers thing, which also is part of like what pays my rent and stuff. Yeah. And I do my own, and I'm now like CRASHTON is like the name of my solo project.
Cool.
I was after Soundtrack to a Blockbuster, I was in a band called Fluorescent Hearts.
Good name.
And then I started doing the solo thing.
Yeah.
So like, so a mixture of loads of stuff, the podcast as well.
You're all over the shop.
Yeah. I got something out, man. Just try to feel my way around the internet.
Yeah. That's fun. Yeah. That's cool, man. Well, as long as you keep them busy and you're doing what makes you happy, that's a huge part of it. Hey, I saw that one of your guests was from Wet, Wet, Wet. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I've known him for a couple of years now. The guy that manages my solo stuff. I met him because he puts on like these big charity events in Glasgow. He always has like really interesting guests and stuff like that, and he's always been really kind and like asking me to come along and support whoever it is that's playing. And one of the times was Graham Clark, and then from that particular gig, he ended up managing Graham for Graham's solo stuff.
Oh, cool.
And through that, I've supported Graham a couple of times, like on his tours, and eventually opened up for Wet, Wet, Wet in one of their dates as well.
Wow, that's cool, man.
Yeah, it's been weird, man. It's just like a weird place.
So is his solo stuff kind of like acoustic themed as well?
My solo stuff?
Well, I know yours is, but I mean Graham's.
Oh yeah. So he's like he plays acoustic guitar, and he has a fiddle player, and I think it's called a bouzouki. I don't even know the name of it.
Not sure.
It looks like a Middle Eastern type instrument.
So when did soundtrack to Blockbuster. When did you guys stop?
Uh, Probably the same year that we supported you.
Oh shit! Okay.
But the drummer from that band, like, probably similar to yourself, like, I think you guys started playing music together, really. Is
Yeah.
that right? Like, you just, like, formed the band around your abilities kind of thing? Like, the
Sure.
drummer for soundtrack to Blockbuster was, like, that was my guy. So, like, we
Right.
went to the same high school together, and
Mm,
we we basically started a band when we were like 12 years old, and that
mm,
band has like formed into loads of different things over the years, and
mm.
even still, like, he plays drums for my solo thing. So
Oh, cool.
yeah.
So you guys are still chums. Yeah, it was very similar for Orange too. We were 12 and so same age as you guys, and we
Yeah.
all developed a interest in music pretty much the same time. And for us, it was like Blink-182 and Sum 41 were basically like all of our two favorite bands. So we, initially Orange was just two bassists, and in our vision, that's how we were going to keep it. Was I was on bass and Mike was on bass, and that's who I started the band with. And we spent months writing songs about like Furbies and our crushes in high school. One of the titles was Spanish Eyes and a Mexican Ass. So we just honestly had no potential whatsoever when we started. It was truly
That's
terrible.
amazing, man.
The thing
That's
that
like,
kept us going was, we had the passion.
yeah.
So what happened was we were like, oh, I suppose we better get a guitar player. And my mum's best friend had a son named Jack who I had met a few times, and he had just started playing guitar. So he came in and we played Hitching a Ride together, and just two basses and a guitar. And after that, I was like,
Mhm.
bingo. So that was amazing. So
The Green
we
Day song, is
continued.
that right?
What was it?
Is that Green Day? The Green Day song?
Green Day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we continued as two bassists, a guitarist for, just a three-piece for still more months after that. And after a while, like, oh, we should probably get a drummer. We did have a drum machine that we hooked up to an amplifier that was just like boom, ka, boom, ka, boom, ka. And my crush at the time, her brother was in like the marching band at school. And so
Right.
oh, that'll do. And then I'll have
Mhm.
an excuse to hang out with my crush more. And he was only in the band for like 2 months, and he was truly terrible. Just
Did you get the
didn't.
girl though?
What was it?
Did you get the girl though?
Dude, that's a whole other story. Ultimately, no.
Right.
Many other of my male friends did, though.
Right. Okay.
So eventually, we found another drummer through Mike's high school, and he didn't work out. And then we found a drummer, Zach, through my high school. And at this time, we were still only about 13 years old. And the drummer Zach, he was 11 or 12 when he joined Orange, and then probably 2 years later we had a record deal with Hellcat. So it all happened so young
Crazy,
and so
man.
quickly. But it's one of those things where like you can't analyze what it was that made it successful, because we put out this 3-song demo and it had the songs Know Us for the Weekend, Ghetto Blaster, and Orange on it, which were all from our first record.
Mhm.
And it was just one of those things. We put it out. 2 months later, we started, doing some gigs, and they were just all fucking packed. And we're like, where the hell did all these people come from? How did they hear about us? Where did they get the demo? Because they weren't just friends. They were
Yeah.
all kids our own age. And it was like it just had magic pixie dust on it.
That's
It was
crazy.
just a bit of magic. The stars aligned, and for whatever reason, we were like an LA buzz band, as they called it back then.
Yeah.
And then we had a record deal. But the reason we signed with Hellcat was we had probably about 7 other labels who wanted to work with us. So that, we were a hot ticket at the time. And even Hellcat's rival labels like Slide One Dummy and Fat Wreck, they all wanted us too.
Yeah.
But Tim was very like, no, I'm going to sign them, so you guys back off. That's quoted. He actually did say
Armstrong,
that.
is that right?
Hmm?
Tim Armstrong
Yeah,
from Rancid, yeah.
yeah,
So that his record label, Hellcat?
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
been his record label for I think 20 years now, maybe. So quite a long time, and they haven't been they weren't active for a long time, which is around about when our deal with them ended in about 2011 or so. And they
Mhm.
didn't really, they weren't functioning honestly for like, God, maybe what felt like 10 years. But then they signed the Interrupters, and they've done really well. And they signed Rat Boy, who are based in England, who are awesome. And they signed another band called Grade A, I think, or Grade 8, something like that. So
Mhm.
they're back on track, you know. But they took a very long hiatus. So we were without a label for many years now. Still are, you know, DIY, I
Yeah.
suppose. Yeah. But that's kind of how Orange started. Was, you know, like you guys, we were, you know, 12, 13, 14, all
Yeah.
liked pop punk, and still to this day, although we've had many lineups, I'm the only original member now, and we're all still like really good chums. You know, Michael,
You play guitar
even
now as well, is that right?
yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I switched to guitar about 3 years ago. I'd played bass in Orange for many years since the inception. And then what happened was I would always go to like these great rock shows, and for example, like Green Day, right? Billy plays guitar, Sum 41, Derek plays guitar. And it's not the fact that they play guitar, but what I loved was the fact that they were rhythm guitar players. They had the freedom to stop playing. And that was
Yeah.
something as a bassist you never have the luxury of doing. So I was never able to like, you know, in the verses get everyone clapping, you know, like because I had to keep playing dun 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 dun, you know, for the whole 3 minutes, right? So given that we were sort of reforming, I was like, well, this is my chance now to become the front man that I've always wanted to be, that doesn't have to be stuck behind a guitar, behind a bass. Um, so that was the reason that I switched to guitar, was so I could have more freedom to, you know, not play for a song and jump in the audience or stage dive, or, you know, get the crowd going and some sort of unison clap, or,
Yeah.
you know, just stuff like that. I wanted a bit more freedom
Yeah,
as
you
a
can be
performer.
way more interactive, I think. Like
Exactly.
having the option to put it down. It was actually
Yeah.
the reason I stopped. Like all the bands before the band Fluorescent Hearts I was telling you about were all
Mm.
3 pieces,
Oh,
and the main reason we became like a 4 piece and eventually a 5 piece was because of that same reason that you're talking about. Like
mm.
just the option to be able to set the guitar down and
Exactly.
interact with the crowd a bit more. Yeah,
Yes,
it
I
just gives
totally
you so
love
much
that.
more creative freedom.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
there are some really cool bands that have frontmen that are bassists, like, you know, No Effects,
Hmm.
or All American Rejects, MXPX, and they're all great. You know, they're all really obviously very famous, so
Yeah.
they can kind of do what they want, really. Um, but they still put on a great show. But and I loved playing bass live. Is easily my favorite instrument live. But you know, just the extra bit of freedom I figured was worth experimenting with at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the person that plays bass now,
Mm.
are they were they originally the guitarist? Like I know it's a different lineup now, but were they
Yeah.
the
So
guitarist
everyone,
before you played bass? When you
no.
played bass?
So what happened was so funny. Even when we started reforming Orange, we had about 4 different lineups. Oh man, it honestly, I'm not even joking. I'm not exaggerating. It took about 2 years to get a new lineup because people kept coming and going. You know, originally I was back on bass. My flatmate Ed was on guitar, and another friend of mine from college was on guitar, and we had James on drums. And then Ed left, and then we brought in Danny, and then Billy left, and then I switched to guitar, and then Charlie came in. She was on bass for a while, and then she left. Dude, it just went on and on and on and on. You wouldn't believe it. And
Yeah.
and then eventually, what happened was me and Danny were like, "All right, we're going to play guitar." And neither of us are lead guitar players. You know, we're kind of both really rhythm guitar players, and Danny does most of the leads. Um, James was an absolutely amazing drummer. And then what happened was like, all right, we're just going to have to resort to finding a bassist online, essentially. So I put the feelers out, and Billy was a very old school Orange fan from our very first album. And I asked him if he would send me a video of himself playing the bass line from Standing Still, which was one of our singles. And he just totally had the passion, and you can't buy that, you know. So that sold him to me, basically. And he showed up for one rehearsal. And you know what's funny was we never actually told him he was in the band, but he just kept showing up. So after that, I was like, "All right, well, I guess he's in." But we never actually had like that moment of like, "Congratulations, Billy, you're in." You know, which is something we always did. Was I always welcome new people by saying "Welcome to the world of Orange," which was also the name of our first album, and so we never. He just kept showing up, really.
It's kind of the best way to do anything. I feel like creatively, if you're going to like do something that's got more than one person involved, you kind of like have to let people gravitate more towards you than try and chase people. Like when I started doing this for a long time, I was looking. I don't know if you watch Joe Rogan, but like there's the guy that works on his show is called Jamie, and like I always kept saying like I need to find a Jamie, like a guy that can produce the show and help and stuff. And I was asking a lot of people that were like kind of involved in like the kind of Scottish podcasting scene and maybe had like worked in TV and stuff like that, and they just didn't seem to be feeling it. And then like I stopped looking, and like in fact, funnily enough, it's the bass player from Soundtrack to a Blockbuster. He got in touch because I had a guy on a podcast that he knew, and he was really interested in working on the podcast. So now, not like just now because we're in lockdown and stuff, but when I do the sort of face-to-face interviews, he produces the show and monitors the video and the audio and everything. So like it's really important, I think, to have someone who actually wants to be there. Do you know what I mean? Than feeling 100%. Like you're kind of chasing someone.
You know what's pretty great about this particular lineup is every single one of them were Orange fans before I ever met them. So they just love being in the band. James, our drummer, he happened to see us play in Hastings, and Billy was a fan from our first record because he loved Hellcat. And James also, he saw us on Zebrahead, which was a huge tour for us, and he loved Zebrahead. That was like his favorite band, and then he became a huge fan. And then Danny, he was an old school Orange fan too from, I think he found us through college. But yeah, man, so the fact that they were all Orange fans before they joined the band, they really love that. Yeah. And then for me too, it's also really nice to work with people who already admire our previous work. So I don't ever really have to try to put on a face or try to impress them. You know, they just are very happy with the position that we're all in together. So you're totally right. You know, if you have to go seeking someone, chasing them again and again and again and again, you know, it's not going to work out. It has that passion is oh my God, hold on. Yeah, so sorry. I'm just getting a phone call.
So good, man.
Let me just ignore it. It's coming from my other computer.
Let's go, man. Don't worry about it.
There we go. Muted it. So where was I? Yeah, the passion, you can't buy passion. So anyone we've ever worked with, even on a business end, like some of our booking agents we've had in the past, or press, PRs, they're not particularly the biggest or the best, but boy, oh boy, they were the most passionate about, selling us. Even the manager I work with now, the reason I work with him at the moment is because his passion for trying to make my solo project work it's just like a roaring furnace, you know. And we've been working at this for 2 years, and we still haven't put out a single song yet. But he is as passionate as the day he signed me, which was over 2 years ago now. So, like I said, it's invaluable.
Totally, man.
Yeah.
But I think you need also to be like that in the sort of rock scene too, like because it's such an easy thing to like for bands to be fleeting all the time. I mean, bands come and go constantly in like rock clubs and stuff, and even if you're like the flavor of the month, pardon the pun.
Yeah, that's true,
like,
man.
You're like it's such an easy thing for like the next month. No one cares. Do you know what I mean? And that
Tell me about
that was the thing. Like even before the internet, like for bands, like it was just people really, like people would turn up to your gigs and you'd be the busy band, but the next month, man, you had to like work your arse off to get it back.
Oh man, I relate so hardcore. Like that last tour that we did. Oh man, I mean nobody came, dude. Like we had one night where 90 people came, which was amazing, and then we had a few nights where we were just playing to the opening band, you know. So to go from like the really great tours that we were doing before our little hiatus, like the Zebrahead tour and Bowling for Soup and Real Big Fish, like boy oh boy, we were on a fucking roll. And then I put it on hiatus because I wanted to go to college for a year. And then after that, I was like, oh, maybe I want to do a solo record. And then that didn't work out. And then this was like back in 2014. And then when we eventually did get it back up and running, to go from all that excitement to playing to nobody again was so depressing. So yeah, I mean, even thinking back to when. What do you think
were the reasons behind it? Do you think it was like a marketing thing, or
maybe like we hadn't put out a track in a very, very long time? I think at that time maybe 8 or 7 years, and then I really wanted to put a proper budget into it because I was like, I know from experience that if you don't put money into promoting a tour or a single, you're really going to get no return because you're only going to be playing to the audience you have, which in our case isn't huge. You know, I think it's like 16,000 on Facebook, but they're not particularly active anyways. 4,000 on Instagram, 600 followers on YouTube, even though we've got almost 2 million views on Revolution, which is another single we did. So we were just playing to the numbers that we already had, but I just knew from experience, you got to get outside of that too. You know, you got to play to the audience, but also you got to bring in new listeners that are younger, because at that time, the old audience, they were now married and had kids, and, you know, they just have other interests, or maybe they don't go to shows anymore. And it's really the young people that come to the gigs now, really. So I think maybe that was one of the reasons it didn't do too well, was we didn't put any money into promoting. That being said, we made a killing on actual money, like the money we put into, you know, doing the tour, like the van and the merchandise. Like we all came back with a pretty big profit, which was amazing considering that hardly anybody fucking came. So maybe we just didn't do it properly, but it was difficult to go from all those big tours to ground zero, essentially. Yeah.
Do you think that like the support, like supporting bands is like sort of more beneficial? And like that's kind of like a loaded question, I suppose, because obviously it is like in some way, because you're always going to be gaining more of an audience. But like the band Fluorescent Hearts that I was in, we done a good few tours, and the things that I always reflect on as being like that I look back on fondly were always the gigs where we supported someone. Like we played with Finch, and we played with Boys Avenue, actually.
Very cool.
And like a couple other bands that I just look back on and think, oh, that was a cool time. That was like it was clearly like a stepping stone in our career. Do you know what I mean? It took us to like a different level, and like, but we also done headline tours, and on the tours we'd be so frustrated, but like, how come we're getting like that? Like we're getting these views on YouTube, or we're getting this amount of fans on Facebook, and like no one's turning up to the gigs and stuff. And like on reflection, it's probably just we could have done more tours where we were like second on the bill. You know what I mean?
I could not agree more. I used to have these, you know, like especially during our second album, there was all this talk about like paying your dues, which is a trendy term, you know, which basically means you have to do years and years of touring, playing to absolutely nobody. But my standpoint from, you know, back then was like, what the fuck is the point? You know, you're going to spend thousands of dollars touring the country to play to nobody, right? Or you could support a band that's already doing well and play to 500, which is, it takes all the pressure off you as well, right? So my favorite gigs, like what you just said, were always the ones where it was not our job to bring in 1,000 people or more. So we knew doing bigger tours or shows like we did with Zebrahead, Bowling for Soup, Real Big Fish, and Rancid, and when we were on festivals like Warped Tour, they all have built-in audiences, so the pressure is off. So all you have to do is put on a killer show.
Yeah.
So it's just so much more enjoyable. And particularly my favorite part about doing the bigger tours that we did was like we were usually the opener, which was fine. We didn't need to be direct support. We were direct support in Real Big Fish, but we were kind of hot, at that time. And I loved playing the show, absolutely melting everybody's faces, and then spending the next 2 hours hanging out with everyone in the crowd or at the merch table.
Yeah.
That was always my favorite part. Like, I couldn't wait to push the band, give out the flyers, sell stuff, get more followers on Instagram, and really network and make friends. That was so much fun. And getting pissed drunk every night with the fans. Like, I just loved that. And that's a luxury.
People start to care more about the band when you're like that with them too.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
There's
like that personal connection. Yeah. Oh, we just said the same thing. But that's a luxury you lose when you're headlining, because you have all the pressure of bringing in the bacon, and then you don't get to do anything after the gig. That's it, because the venue shuts, right? So you don't get to hang out with the crowd for the next hour or two, or hang out at the merch table. Anytime we headlined, it was like, as soon as Orange was off the stage, you've got 5 minutes to buy a t-shirt, then everybody out. And security was always real strict about it. So I got to agree with you, man. Like, I think supporting or opening is just astronomically more fun.
I think like being the underdog in general is quite like it's a sort of more comfortable place to be. Do you know what I mean? If you're like great, if you're as good as the guy that you're supporting, but you're like, you come on before them, people always think like, oh, that guy was fucking good. I was actually kind of slating that line of thought the other day, actually, like in a different way. I was talking to just a session guitarist, and we were talking about how, like, when you play weddings or you play in like bars, like when I do acoustic covers, like quite often you'll get people that will come up and they'll say, "Oh, my friend sings, could they come up and sing a song?" And like it's like everyone's looking for their sort of X Factor moment. Do you know what I mean? Like the like everyone wants to be the underdog, like, because in that situation, regardless if it's Beyonce that's singing on the stage, if like someone comes up and they're good at singing and no one was expecting it, they're always going to be held up on like a pedestal. Do you know what I mean? In some way, and it totally takes the attention off.
Well, everyone likes those stories too, don't they? Like, I was at a karaoke night and I did a ballad, and then that's how I got my record deal. People like those stories because they fulfill people's fantasies of how their life could be or how things could work out. But yeah, man, I've been to so many karaoke nights where someone gets up and very unassuming, and you don't think they look like much, and they just come up with this belter of a voice. And it's always like just so exciting, and then that gets me inspired, and I want to go do a song next, and then I totally butcher it and I'm rubbish, but it's so much fun discovering new talent in unexpected ways.
Yeah, totally, man. That's probably the reason why like being the support band feels so good. Do you know what I mean? It's like because it's that thing happening.
Yeah, like everyone there is brand new to you, and you can just bring down the house.
Like, you can play your best songs, and it's going to hit the nail on the head every time. But like you were saying, if you're playing to your audience, like people that know you, like they're waiting for new music. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, and people that come to the shows that are familiar, they kind of want you to just play the hits, hits, quote unquote, which kind of takes the pressure off. Like, I don't mind just playing tracks from Phoenix, which is basically all anyone wants to hear.
Mhm.
But I know the other members of Orange, like when we've done tours, they're like, "Oh man, we really want to play songs from the first and second album." And I'm just like, "Why? Nobody wants to hear them. No
Yeah.
one." They'll be like, "What the fuck is this shit?" You know. I mean, any good band, when you go see them, they play the hits, and if they don't play the hits, it's honestly I get bored. You know,
Yeah.
if I go see Sum 41 and they spend a bunch of time playing tracks off of their new records, which aren't as popular as the old ones, you know, I'm going to be like, fucking play Fat Lip, play
Yeah.
Motivation, you know. So yeah, I mean,
It's
I
good
guess
when
you gotta
bands
gotta play the hits.
dedicate like maybe a section of the set to their new music, but
Mm,
then the rest of the night is like about playing the hits, as
mm.
you say.
Yeah,
So
I
you were
think playing
talking
new.
about. Sorry, man, on you go.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I think like injecting new stuff every couple of songs is totally fine. That's very
Yeah.
normal. Like we do play obscure stuff, but just not very much. Like if we played, for example, Late Nights and Early Mornings, which was a single we put out 2 years ago, uh, mixed in with Phoenix, like that's fine, but you know, it isn't going to get as popular of a reaction. So you know,
Yeah.
mix it up, I guess.
So you were talking about Revolution, the
Mm,
song,
mm.
and that was a theme for Generator Rex. Is that right?
Yep.
The TV show, sort of Cartoon Network TV show.
Yeah, man, that was like I think they just celebrated their 10-year anniversary this month, I think,
Right.
unbelievably. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Uh, yeah,
And is that
we
still the
got
theme for it?
well, it only ran for 2 seasons, so it wasn't on for very long. But they
Right.
never chose a different theme, no. So and they actually used all of our tracks from all of our 3 albums at the time, throughout the entire show, which was amazing. And
That's crazy, man.
um, how that came about was such a funny story. Like, just talk about luck, man. Like, what happened was this was our third album on Hellcat, which is associated with Epitaph Records, who were a much bigger indie label. And their publishing department got a call from Cartoon Network saying, "Hey, we're doing this kids show and we're looking for kind of fun, pop punky sort of bands." And Hector, the guy who took care of the publishing, was like, "Oh, well, Orange is pretty much fits that bill, especially with their new stuff." So he sent over our discography, which included B-sides. We never put Revolution out. It wasn't even on the
Right.
album. We just thought it wasn't very good.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we didn't even put it on, as like a Japan-only exclusive, which a lot of bands did for many, many years. We didn't. It just was not out there in the world at all. No one could find it. It didn't exist. So when they sent over the discography, that was in the collection, and the supervisor heard that, and luckily it starts with the chorus,
Yeah.
and was just like, "Bingo, that is exactly what we're looking for." So they
It
very
totally
quickly,
fits, man. It totally
yeah,
fits.
yeah. So it was just a huge stroke of luck, and then from that, they used all of our songs as kind of part of the deal throughout the whole series. And if you watch the series, the chap who did the rest of the music was he's still I still follow him on Instagram. We chat every now and then. What's his name? Gosh, I can't remember. But if you listen to it, he made music that sounded like Orange for the show. So like
Right.
musical interludes, they
Yeah.
sounded like Orange. It wasn't Orange playing, but he told us he was like, "Yeah, I've got to make all these songs now that sound like you guys." So we were a
That's
massive part
crazy,
of that
man.
show. Well, that was easily the biggest thing we were ever a part of. And to this day, like even if I'm doing my streams or Instagram, every single day without fail, I get fan mail saying like, "Oh man, you guys were the soundtrack to my childhood, and I love
Yeah.
Generator Rex." And it's like, dude, it's so weird to me because at the time I think I was 22 or something. So I was already an adult, and now I'm 32. I'm a super adult. So when
Yeah.
I was, I was already a grown man by the time these children were listening to it, and now 10 years on, they're grown men. It's
Yeah.
just such a bloody weird thing.
It's
Oh, this is
nuts,
one of my
man.
favorite stories. I've got to tell you this. So about a couple months after the show premiered, I was really into Pokemon cards. at the time, and I would go to tournaments, and I ended up competing in the world tournament with my friend Jasper. We lost first round, but
That's awesome, man.
at one of the leagues, I was, playing, and then next to me was this kid, and he just starts going, "Make way, start the revolution," which is revolution.
Yeah.
And I turned to him and I was like, "Oh, you like that song?" He goes, "Yeah, dude." And I was like, "That's my band," because Generator X had just started by then. He was like, "What? What do you mean?" I was like, "Yeah, that's my band. We wrote that song." He could not believe it. It's like he's peeing his pants. And for me, I was peeing my pants too, because stuff like that never happened to me until that moment. So
yeah,
the whole Generator X thing was just an absolute blessing. Yeah.
I was going to say, I imagine that would have been like one of those stepping stones that took it to just a total different level.
Yeah. I mean, it was for a while. And at that time, we really thought this is going to be it. Like, this is how we get, on the radio. That's how we get discovered by a major record label to do the fourth album. And at that time also, our cover of Perfect Day was going to be used in a Glenn Close movie as the theme song. And we had just announced, the Zebrahead tour. So all the stars were aligning, and it didn't happen for whatever reason. Oh, and we also they were going to use our song "Each Other" as the theme song to that movie, She's Out of My League. It was going to be the credits song.
Right, cool.
Oh man, all these things were going to happen, and it was just like overnight, none of them happened. And it didn't. We didn't blow up, but we had some really amazing experiences from that, for sure. Yeah.
One of those things, I don't know if probably was before the Generator Rex thing. Was the OC? Is that right? One of your
I forgot about
featured
that.
OC.
Yeah, I totally forgot. Holy shit, that was huge.
I still am like a huge OC fan. It's probably like unsuspecting, man. Like,
man.
And I don't know what the sort of California feeling is towards the OC. If it was like, if people viewed it like as a good thing, but like for me, man, like I actually discovered the OC like late. I knew that everyone was watching it like when it was out, but I think it was like towards the end of like, the third season. I started watching and I got really into it. I actually got into it when it started getting bad, and then eventually, so I was catching like episodes and I didn't really understand the storyline. And then on one of the channels over here, they started it from the pilot. Yeah. And the pilot just got me hooked, because I think the pilot is genuinely like one of the best pilots of a TV show that I've ever seen, man. Yeah, so like I'm a huge
OC so fan. Funny.
I was trying to figure out like where it was, and I found like the episode that you guys were in, and I remember that episode as well. It's like the lock-in.
The party scene, yeah. We got really, I mean, that was nuts. That was our first album, and that was also our first time on TV. So it was the first time that, a supervisor had bought the right to use the song, and we all had a little party to watch the episode, and we couldn't believe they played about pretty much the entire song. It was almost like 3 minutes. And most of the music that gets used in that show is maybe on for like 15 seconds, as a stinger, a transition, but they used the whole damn song, and we got a big fat paycheck. We got 20 grand for that shit, which was unheard of. You would never, ever, ever, ever get that now.
Yeah.
So, we split that 4 ways, and that was our first big, kind of thing. And then at the end of that episode, it's probably not online, but what they used to do was at the end of each episode of the OC, they used to have the announcer right after the credits say, "Tonight's episode of the OC featured music by," and then they show the album cover and they say the band name, and they used Orange. They actually said featured music from Orange. And little undercover fact, that's not free. You actually have to pay for that, believe it or not. So Hellcat had to pay, I think it was either $5,000 or $10,000. It was pricey, to have that 5-second stinger at the end of the credits to say, featured by blah blah blah. And then from that, we got like on an episode of Dog the Bounty Hunter, and then we did some football games. But the OC was the first, big thing.
I think that the music coordinator for the OC, I think her name's Alexandra Patsavis. I think that I think
Mm-hmm.
that's how you say her second name. But
Oh, cool.
she was great at finding music for the OC. But
Yeah.
she also went on to do Twilight as well. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, I
But
did not know that.
she sourced all the music for Twilight. And
Dude.
I don't know if this is just a coincidence, but a lot of the people that were in Twilight were also in the OC. Like quite a
What?
few actors, yeah.
That's so
That were
weird.
in
I
it.
had no idea. I would
Yeah,
have
it's
gotten in
crazy.
touch with them and
I
been
didn't
like,
like
yo, put me in one of
Twilight.
your movies.
Yeah.
That's
I
crazy.
didn't
I really had no
particularly
idea.
like Twilight, man, but I thought
Mm.
the song selection was perfect for it.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool,
Clearly,
man. Yeah.
like Paramore like blew up after.
Oh, that's right. They were on there. Yeah. There were a lot of cool bands on OC, weren't they? I only ever saw
Yeah.
like a couple of episodes, but I know that it was, especially when it was airing, it was very in touch with that sort of teenage audience. They just had their finger on the pulse, especially at
Yeah.
that time. So yeah, I guess, yeah, she was a good music supervisor for sure. That's so funny she did Twilight, though. I had no idea. Damn. I could have been in
I'd like to know
Twilight.
what she's done since, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
you could have, man.
IMDb.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
It's probably some other like program that's out just now that's like still quite current that she's managing somewhere.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for if my dad's always said this was like at some point in your life there's going to be some Orange fan who was a kid that you really inspired, and they're going to grow up to be in this position of power, like they're going to be a movie director, or they're going to be a rock star themselves, and they're going to hook you up big time. We'll give you a major shout out, and then maybe that's how you get like big discovered. So if any Orange fans are famous now, shout us out.
Yeah, that's all, man.
Yeah.
And I think like you'll like everyone who's done something that's like appealed in the sort of like music zeitgeist will have influenced someone in some way, you know what I mean, and inspired them to go on to do something.
Yeah.
You'd like to think as a musician that you've done that for someone.
That's for sure always
well,
been
you're
one
saying
of
it about your dad. Your dad is the bass player on Sade, is that right?
Yeah. So funny story. So when they first debuted in America, they had to put how like in dictionaries they do the pronounced like this or whatever, because it is spelled like Sade, like Sade, but it's actually pronounced Sade. So on the album covers in America it said Sade, and then in parenthesis pronounced Sade, phonetically.
Okay.
But yeah, they were a really big 80s kind of smooth jazz is the genre that people gave them, band from the 80s. They had Smooth Operator. But they it was pretty lucky. They didn't have just one big hit. They've had many big hits, especially in America. Like they could easily sell out the Forum 4 nights in a row or more. So they're absolutely massive over here in America, which is pretty cool. And a lot of times, like, especially when we first got signed, we got a lot of criticism, like, oh, they only got signed because his dad is in Sade and connected to the music business. But to be honest, man, it had nothing to do with that.
Two completely different worlds as well. I wouldn't even. It would be virtually impossible for me to try and think of a way of how those two worlds would be connected. Like
they won't, at all.
The whole point in like
yeah.
Hellcat and like all those record labels was a sort of like stand against like the sort of like mainstream.
Yeah, like there was no connection whatsoever, 0%. If anything, I'll tell you how Hellcat did find us was my mum had a friend who was a nightclub owner, still is, named Brian Rayburn. So big shout out to him because he was friends with Tim Armstrong. My mum gave our demo to Brian, and Brian was like, oh, I should play this for Tim because Tim really likes punk rock. And they met in AA over here, like Alcoholics Anonymous. And Tim loved it and was like, I'm going to sign these guys. Don't play it to anybody else. So that's how they found us. It had nothing to do with my dad, 0%. Yeah. If anything, when my dad's ever tried to hook me up with his contacts, they're not interested because I don't make music like Sade, and it hasn't worked out, So
Yeah.
it's just not true. Yeah.
He's maybe just like giving you the drive.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Just
it
seeing him
was
as a
nice to have
musician
that kind of, oh, no, I
yeah.
totally agree, man. You know, like growing up and going to these big shows was always inspirational. Um, so yeah, I guess there was always, it's kind of, it's interesting how it happened for him, right? So he had played in bands for years and he was coming up to 26 or 27. And he was like, all right, well, it's not going to happen for me. I gave it a go. You know, so he's going to go back to his hometown of Hull over in England. And he's just going to maybe get into politics or something because he thought, well, maybe that's the good I can do with my life. So he announced to his band that, you know, they were done, and they were a band called Pride, and they were a bit popular, but, you know, no record deal, no, you know, they weren't famous or anything. And he was leaving, and he put his bass under his bed, blah, blah, blah. And he kept getting these phone calls from the band saying, you know, like leaving voicemails like, hey, we got rehearsed, we got blah, 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 blah. And the manager knocks on my dad's front door, and he runs up to my dad's bedroom, and he grabs his bass, and he starts walking at the door, and he was like, my dad was like, where are you going? Where are you going with my bass? And the manager goes, well, I'm going to rehearsal. You coming? And my dad's frozen. He's like, fuck it. One more. So he goes to this rehearsal, and that's the rehearsal when they became Sade. The manager came in and completely revamped the band. The Sade was the backing singer. You know, she was just one of the three girls behind the band. And he was like, you're the new frontman. Get up, front and center. Yeah. And then they became Sade from that day on. And then that was the rehearsal that, you know, changed their lives. So that from that story is like, you just never know. You just have to keep going and putting stuff out and just doing, because you just don't know.
Yeah, like that's something that is only really like kind of came into sync for me recently. Is like, see, just the doing it is like that is the achievement. Like when you're younger,
Majorly.
you have these dreams of like being a rock star and becoming someone that is like that sort of never only happens to a select few people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And the actual, just the process of trying to get there is actually that's being a part of it. Do you know what I mean? Like that you're already like part of the music industry and the scene, and those are the things that you always look back at as being like the good times.
Sure. Yeah. There's some very interesting statistics. Like 1% of musicians actually make money from music. So you're part of the 1%. Like, I know you make money from music. And I make money from music. So we're part of 1% of the population of musicians that actually do earn money. And there's I watched this show about the statistics of actually becoming famous within your lifetime. And it was like equated to how many celebrities there are in the world, which was about, 7,000. And then how many humans are on Earth, and it was like 7 billion. And statistically, the odds of becoming a celebrity were like 0.00028%, which was just, minuscule. And it was also interesting to see that the place in the world that produces the most celebrities are 3 places in America: New York, Illinois, and I think Ohio or Massachusetts. And for some reason, statistically, 1 in 8,000 will become a celebrity from those 3 states. So statistically, being a rock star is going to be challenging. But going back to the point, like, you just literally don't know when luck is on your side and when something's going to get, magic pixie dust on it. So if you're passionate and, if you're a real musician, or, it feeds your soul, you have no choice but to do this, like, you're just going to do it. So even if I wasn't going to be well known, I would still write songs. I would still record songs. I would still put them out because it's just part of who I am. Like, same for you, you just have to do it because that's just who you are. So you never know when one of those things are going to work out.
Yeah, I think like I don't think like Kurt Cobain felt like a rock star or ever wanted to be one. Like
Mm.
I think, in fact, a lot of his tastes in music would have put a lot of people off that wanted to be rock stars. I think when you start getting
Probably.
diluting your mind with that chain of thought, you instantly write yourself out of the equation.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I know Nirvana is such a huge band, but I was never personally a fan. I absolutely loved their cover of Man Who Sold the World. And actually
Yeah.
thought that they wrote that for many years
Oh, me
until,
too,
you know,
man.
like it's a Bowie song, obviously, but I didn't know that back
Yeah.
in the day. But I was just personally never, I'm still not, I'm not attracted to heavy rock or grunge. It's just not for me. I kind of like lighthearted, you know, major chord progression, pop punk jams. Really, that's just my style. But
Yeah.
I totally respect what Nirvana did for rock music. Like they opened the doors for that genre to be just absolutely insanely massive for about 2 decades after that.
Yeah.
And same with Green Day, you know, when they won all those Grammys for American Idiot, they opened the door for punk rock to be commercially viable again for a while. Now it's not. Now nothing is viable unless you're hip hop or pop. Essentially,
Yeah.
that's at least that's what it's like in America. If you don't play trap, hip hop, mumble rap,
Mumble
or
rap,
just
yeah.
you know, like if you don't do that, you're not going to get on radio. So unfortunately, it's very one-sided now. But I'm always hoping that one band will come along, that the next Mike Hem, the next Green Day, the next Nirvana, you know, that will open the
Yeah.
floodgates again for, you know, guitar-driven rock music to be, you know, big again, essentially.
I think it's got to come from, like, again, just a place of sincerity that the people who are making the music have to really mean it. Because even like, if you look at where Blink-182 started to where they are now, there's sort of like, you can tell that they're dragging something along now. Do you know what I mean? Like they're trying to drag the train, whereas like at the start, like they were pushing it and
Yeah,
creating something that wasn't around at the time. And
yeah,
yeah,
that's
like I
true.
think if it's going to exist again, it has to come from that same place. Because
Yeah,
it's funny actually. The only places that I seem to hear punk rock bands are like cartoons. It's always like a theme song for a cartoon. Like,
it's true. Yeah, or
you never
anime.
hear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
every anime song is fucking pop punk, like or even metal. Like I've been rewatching Death Note the last few days, which is one of my favorite animes of all time, and every song's like and you don't hear that anyway, except for, you know, anime and cartoons, and you're right, every cartoon genre is, I mean, Orange included, it is basically like a pop punk kind of, you know, jam, isn't it? So, you know, we got to get rock music back on radio. But like you said, I think authenticity, and I've only discovered this within the last 2 years, authenticity really sells. And people can see through contrived efforts now. So I myself
Even more so, man.
Yeah, like just I think the more authentic you are to yourself and to your cause or whatever, the better you're going to do. I myself have tried stylistic choices that maybe at the time weren't really big, or, you know, and I used to run these ideas past people in the industry, and I was like, oh, I think, you know, we should go for a steampunk look and carry around blasters and wear top hats. And then people were like, oh, I think that sounds contrived, man. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's unique. No one's doing it. We got to do this. This is going to make us huge. So in hindsight, I'm glad we didn't do that particular idea. But especially now more than ever, authenticity sells. So like you said, the sincerity and authenticity is going to be what makes rock music viable again.
Yeah, I think that's something that I've like sort of been struggling with, because musically, like I feel like I've landed in a place where I do know who I am. Like if I pick up a guitar to write a song, like I feel like I'm writing it. I'm not like, who's this?
It's my dog. So this is Jet. Is a little is a little male Chihuahua. Little man, but he loves to kiss. He's been at my feet like, Daddy, pick me up, let me kiss. He's an unstoppable.
Keep him away from mountain lions, man.
What?
Keep him away from mountain lions.
Oh, dude, I know. That's a serious thing here, man. And coyotes. So if ever I go for a hike, you know, sometimes you see dogs off leash and shit, and I'm just like, no effing way am I going to risk that. Like, when we go for
man.
hikes, he's got a harness on that's Velcro and also buckled on a short leash, just in case, because there's so many stories here in LA, like of mountain lions and coyotes coming down from hikes or the mountains and stealing little dogs, right? And he is little. My other dog is an Australian Shepherd, and they might try to pick him up, but they just drop him again because he's so effing heavy. He's huge. But this little guy, he's tiny. He's a little Chihuahua man. Mwah! Yes, I love you too. Ooh.
My girlfriend's aunt, so it's like her grand sister lives in where is it she lives again? It's Orange County, but it's
okay, yeah.
It's actually quite near Disneyland. And,
yeah, Orange County, yeah.
We were there a couple of...
Or in Anaheim,
couple of years ago.
maybe.
Anaheim. In fact, she does live near Anaheim, but it is still like a little bit out. I'd need to look at the map to remember where it is. In fact, the name of the place that she stayed was like Pinnacle Point. Like the actual street. I don't know where that is. It's somewhere.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
But yeah, when we were there, she had like a little dog. It's like one of those little Scottish Terrier looking dogs, but it wasn't white. It was like it had colour in its fur and stuff. And like a couple of weeks ago, her dog got taken by coyotes as well, man. So
fuck no,
it's crazy. And at the time, like there was other family that we visited out there, and they had like tiny little dogs, and they were talking about how is it eagles that come down or
man,
and they just left them, man. It's nuts.
That's horrible, dude. That's heartbreaking. I hate that.
Yeah. Horrid, man.
Yeah, dude. Do you have a dog?
I don't, man. My mum, like I grew up with a dog.
Yeah.
And I'm out. Obviously, I'm out at my mum's house now. But no, I don't. We've never had one. We kind of don't want any pets.
Yeah.
In the house, like we've just got past the two-year-old mark with a little boy.
You have a kid?
Yeah. Well, I've got a stepson and I've got my own son as well, man.
Bananas. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Man, that's wild. That just like how much, because I remember you from a decade ago.
Yeah.
When we played together. So that's just great. That's just totally thrown me. What did you name him?
Caleb.
Caleb. Cool. Great name.
Yeah.
My best friend, his brother's name is Caleb as well.
Yeah. It's a nice name, man. I think Katie just liked the name Caleb.
Yeah.
But for me, like, I always liked Caleb Follow from Kings of Leon. So, like, for me, it's still a little musical.
It's got a little secret meaning.
Yeah.
That's
awesome,
so
I think like having an animal is just like it's like having an under 2-year-old for like 15 years, man. Like there's so much responsibility and care you need to put in.
That's true. I couldn't agree more. Like I've had dogs my whole life, and I always fancied myself as being a dad one day. And then my girlfriend, she has a 6-year-old child from a previous relationship, and boy, oh boy, it is a full-time job having a kid. You know, when I've spent weekends there, it is just non-stop care and attention. So throwing a dog into the mix of, you know, I mean, I know yours is 2, but even as old as 6, like, yeah, you made the right choice, man. Like, there's no space for anything other than that child, you know, at least until they're, I'm guessing 10. I don't really know. But yeah, good choice, man.
Yeah. That's the thing, man. Like, I'm always criticizing people for like getting like Christmas pets. Do you know what I mean? That just sort of get abandoned and they don't really.
Yeah,
they end up living in the garden and stuff like that. Like,
well, you know, the one good thing that came from the lockdown was there's a lot of shelters that are sold out of dogs. They rehomed all of them here in LA. Wow. So that's pretty awesome to see.
Yeah,
I'm sure that will calm down now that lockdown is kind of easing off and other things have taken precedent. But you know, that was pretty great to see that, you know, the shelters were literally empty. Like there were photos of them, just no dogs for sale, none. So that's pretty great.
That's amazing, man. Hopefully it isn't just because it's a fad as well.
Dude, I know. Yeah. Well, I mean, as we know,
like just looking for an excuse to leave the house.
Yeah.
Because they're locked in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your Twitch.
Yeah.
Twitch channel. We haven't even spoken about games. Like a fucking.
We should maybe do a
like
part two.
I'm wearing like a pair of Turtle Beaches right now.
Oh, dude!
Yeah.
We should have. We should schedule a second interview.
Yeah, for all of that stuff.
But yeah, man,
Maybe
I've been streaming on Twitch for about 9 months now. So if you want to check out my game, my channel is twitch.tv/Joe_Dexter. And I kind of play, like, I don't specialize in FPS, you know, or not FPS, but like shooters. You know, I'm not going to be the best at Overwatch or Call of Duty or whatever, you know. I mostly focus on personality and entertainment and narrative games, sort of like Life is Strange or scary games. Like one I just played yesterday was called A Girl's Fabric Face or The Suicide of Rachel Foster or Gone Home. Like, I really enjoy those kind of creepy narrative games. So if you're into that, yeah, check it out. That's for sure my type of thing.
Awesome, man.
Do you Twitch as well?
I don't, man. Like, I considered it. Like, when I really got into gaming, like, about 2012, 2013, and I considered it back then. And now, like, I don't know, I just don't have the time for it, man. Like, being a parent, it's just so much.
Well, if you ever change your mind,
yeah,
if you ever change your mind, let me know, and I can totally help you out. I've been helping my friend Jessica, who's my co-host on my podcast, set up her Twitch, and she's pretty much ready to launch now. But it's been it's taken a few months to get everything going, but it should be great. Yeah. So I'd gladly help you out if you ever want to.
That'd be cool, man. I suppose there might be an element of this that could like fit into it. There's a guy, like a comedian called Lemmy.
I love Lemmy. Yeah, he streams. Yeah.
Do you watch Lemmy? Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool,
he's really funny.
He's like he's a big like famous Scottish comedian, and like he tends to just do more sort of entertainment stuff more than game. I know he does a lot of game stuff as well, but like he'll do like a night where it's just improv stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do too. Yeah, I tell a lot of like stories about Orange or you know, rock stories and you know, stuff like that mixed in with the gameplay. That's kind of my niche.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, thanks so much for having me, man. Yeah, honestly, I would gladly come back and chat with you anytime.
No worries, man. Thanks very much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Yeah, my pleasure.